Hello and welcome to another devlog of my project Mini Countries. The last devlog is 4 weeks ago, but of course I was still working on the game in the meantime. As we were able to see by the video title, I will reveal something many of you have been waiting for, and that's the release date for Mini Countries. Moreover, I will introduce the new event system I've fully implemented in the meantime. I made some user experience improvements when removing connections and buildings, and I extended the language system and added some more new languages. So let's start the video after the intro. Actually, I planned to release a new devlog last week, but some things have changed in the meantime. Originally, I planned to participate in the Steam Autumn Festival, which actually takes place, and I wanted to release a demo for it, but I decided to keep on polishing the game since I wasn't fully happy with it, and I would like to give you the best experience when playing the game for the first time. The first thing I would like to show you is the new event system in the game. Previously, I only had a section in the level file for the requested resources. The appearance of new resources was static, so there was no way to put into a bit of variety, and for some other cases there wasn't a possibility to configure that at all. That's why I've decided to create a new interface for the events. So for example, there is now an event for the requested resources. You can define when the event occurs, which resource will be requested, or you can specify that one resource out of a list is selected randomly. The next event I've added was the city appearance. It's now possible to define the time range in which a city will appear, and you can define the number of cities which will appear. Moreover, you can set this up only for a specific month, so it's possible to make one city appear each month, but not in the third month, since there is an event that there will be 2 cities appearing. You can also set events to a single time or a permanent type, which is pretty useful for the city appearance event. Another event I've added is the season event. It's now possible to create special season events like a hard winter, where the trade productivity will be decreased by 10%. For this reason, I've also added a new pop-up which you can see at this season UI. First, you get notified when there is a special event in the upcoming season, and when the season proceeds, you see a little info icon which you can hover to see what kind of event takes place during that season. Of course, when the season is active, you can see the productivity influence in the trade buildings pop-up. Moreover, I did some other little changes. For example, I've changed the level button layout by removing the previous description, which was quite hard to specify for all the different levels, and I thought it would be much more informative if you can see something about the starting conditions, the available buildings, and the other icons already existed before that little change. I also improved the pop-up behavior, since I got the feedback that it is pretty surprising if you click on a building and there is no pop-up coming up. The reason for that is quite simple to explain. I spawned the pop-up at the pop-up placeholder game object, and the pop-up script checked if the whole pop-up is visible on the screen, and if not, it set the pop-up to invisible. So the player was able to see the pop-up for a frame or something, but now I changed the appearance and make the pop-up move along the placeholder axis as long as the building itself is visible on the screen. If not, of course, the pop-up will be invisible, but as soon as the building comes back in, the pop-up is also visible again. I've noticed a bad behavior when removing buildings. The reason for that was that the remove function was looking for connections first, because connections cannot exist without at least 2 buildings. But in some cases you want to remove only the building, including all its connections, or only the connections on a hex tile. That's why I added a new controller which automatically detects the possibilities you have when hovering over a hex tile in delete mode. If you only hover over a hex tile with a connection, there's only one button visible, which of course deletes the connection. The same behavior occurs when hovering over a building. If there are connections which belongs to the building, there will only be one button to remove the building, because connections will also be removed since, as already mentioned, they cannot exist for themselves. If a building has multiple connections, you now have the possibility to decide whether you want to remove the building with its connections, but let the other connections be untouched, or if you want to remove all the connections, but keep the building. A huge thank you goes to all the people who helped me with the translation so far. Languages like Italian, Brazilian Portuguese, Chinese, or Polish are quite up to date and almost ready to be added into the game, but I could still need some help for the French, Spanish, Japanese, or Russian translation. So if you're able to speak one of those languages and English or German as a reference, and you would like to help many countries getting translated, have a look into the description. There's a link where you can request access to the translation file. And in the meantime, I wrote a single converter script which makes it possible for me to generate all language files by just pressing the convert button. And last but not least, I will tell you when the game will be released. Many countries will be available on Steam and maybe on other platforms as well. That's something I might talk about in some of the next devlogs. On February 12th, 2021. Originally, I planned to release the game in 2020, but from an indie developer perspective, it's not the best idea to release a game between the new console launches and the AAA games, and also in the Christmas business. So I have some time left to polish the game and work on some more features and other secrets as well. And that's it for this devlog. I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and give this video a thumbs up. Activate the bell to support the project and not miss the upcoming videos. Have a great start into the next week and see you next time. Cheers!